see, do I remember everybody's name? This is part of the Reese family, and this is my older sister, Pauline, and she's the oldest one in the family. And then Phyllis was the second oldest of the family, and then Chris was the third, and then I came along last. Then there was one after me, but he didn't live.
That was Harry Dwayne. He only lived 3 days.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us what your parents were like?
How far back shall we go?
As far as you can remember.
Tell us how they got here.
Yeah, there's some good stories you know about them that we don't know. Like how they met or how Harry started the farm.
This place has captured me. Wildflowers I can see. There ain't no place I'd rather be than Idaho. Oh, in Idaho. Oh, in Idaho.
Daddy came out here in 1909. Came out here for his health. Came on a train over to Bliss. And the first job he had was he worked for the railroad, worked on the railroad and went from Bliss to Glenn's Ferry and back, just working on the railroad. And he didn't like that, so he took off and went down through Hagerman and crossed the river and was headed for Buell or that area.
We had a chance to buy the land under Banbury Hot Springs.
Yeah, if he was going to buy that, he could have bought all that property from down by Thousand Springs and up through to Banbury's for $5 an acre. He thought that was a little too much.
Well, he said cows can't drink hot water, and that was our t-shirt.
Yeah, they had the warm water springs on there, and he didn't like that for cows. He didn't want the cows drinking warm water. So then he ended up heading towards Mellon Valley, wasn't it?
I don't remember all
Yeah,
of that.
he got up to Buell area and went west of Buell and at the top of Mellon Valley, and he saw some land there, and he was trying to prove up on it, I guess, from what I remember him telling. And then he decided to go back east and get Uncle Walter, bring him out. And that was about, what year?
1911, I think.
1911. So went back to Pennsylvania, and he met Mom when he was back there. And I don't know whether he talked her into coming out with him or whether they got hitched or what happened. But
They dated 2 weeks only.
dated 2 weeks.
And he told her that he'd take her clear to Idaho.
Yeah.
She wanted to go to Idaho.
So they headed west. They came in an old car, didn't they?
Yes.
No.
Well, they went to Chicago and stayed with Aunt Rhoda and Uncle Waite for a while.
Oh.
Uncle Ralph Waite. They stayed there for a little while and then they came.
And they headed back into the Buell area. And he'd lost the farm that he had proved up on above Mountain Valley. Prices weren't good, or couldn't make a go of it. So then he went out towards Castleford, and he wanted to get a place to raise cattle, because he always wanted to raise a few cattle. So he went out south and east to Castleford, and I think he found the rockiest farm in the whole county, and he knew that would raise good grass for the cows. So he proved up on that 80 acres.
Used his homestead.
Homesteaded it.
Right.
Well, he cleaned up first 40 out for the Apple Company.
Oh,
And
I didn't
then
know
when
that.
the Apple Company, when they quit, then he filed on that 40, and then later on he filed on another 40. So,
Does prove up mean you have to make improvements?
yeah.
Yeah, you have to
Prove you're
prove you
serious?
were going to make a farm out of it, or make something out of it. But anyway, I don't know when he brought Mom out here.
1924.
1924.
I was born in 1925, because I was
Oh.
born in 1926.
Oh. Well, anyway, that's how the family started.
Must have got the typhoid when he was in Pennsylvania, because in his wedding pictures, he didn't have hair, like, his hair came out when he had that typhoid fever.
And they got married down in Pennsylvania?
They must have.
Yeah, they did, because the wedding pictures were taken in Pennsylvania. Then they went to Chicago and stayed with Aunt Rhoda and Uncle Ralph for a little bit. I don't know if they lived there or they just all went there together.
I don't know. I never heard that story.
Well, you ought to remember, we went diving in a tub.
Oh, that was lots years
Yeah,
later.
years and years later.
Well, you're saying that Grandpa Harry was, honesty was really important.
It really was. That was one of the first things that I remember him teaching us, and Mom too, you know, absolute honesty. And I think it was because this Wade guy was so dishonest, really.
Yeah.
What Wade guy?
The one of the squatters that came
Oh.
and sat on the sagebrush up there and tried to claim the land by squatting on it.
And we would have to get up at 4:30 every morning to go get the cows, to bring them up and milk them. And we have heard some of the neighbors say, that old Harry Reese sure isn't very good with those kids, making them get up that early.
I had a pretty bad mouth, and I was out there one day, and I had called my dad a few names, and he was in his irrigating boots, and I was barefooted, and I took off running. I didn't think he'd catch me, 'cause I was pretty fast. But I kept hearing these boots coming, getting closer and closer, and all of a sudden, man, he got a hold of me, and I got a picture in there someplace. But he pulled a handful of hair out of my head when he caught me. I had to go that way it took me several months to grow that hair back in.
I understand Grandpa was a really good driver?
Yeah. Yeah, he was a
Yeah.
great driver.
Specialized in fixing up his truck so that it wouldn't get stuck?
Oh, he had a habit of, if he saw a cow way out in the sagebrush someplace, he wouldn't get out or take the horse out. He'd drive out there with his old truck, old Ford truck, and kept hanging it up on a rock or get it stuck. But anyway, he took it in Joe's blacksmith, and they took a heavy metal and hooked it to the front bumper and went back clear underneath the front axles and under the oil pans. And then if he hit a rock, it'd just slide over the top of it. And it got to where most of the sheep men in the Castleford area was doing that to their trucks, putting that plate underneath them so they could drive over the rocks and stuff.
I seem to remember some story about a hammer and a bull.
Oh, we had a
Oh,
Daddy had
yeah.
bought some cattle, and there was this one that was the wildest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And,
Old Snake Eye.
huh?
Old Snake Eye, we call her.
Well, I don't know what you called her, but anyway, we finally chased her across the country, and she got over in Mrs. Clark's barn, neighbor's barn, and my dad had the pickup backed up to the edge of this barn. He was going to load this animal in the pickup, and he got in there with that old steer. That steer took after him, and my dad took a hammer, come around like that, and hit that steer in the head, and knocked him down, and loaded him in the pickup and brought him home. But he was pretty tough. My dad was. He wasn't very big, but he was mighty tough.
How big was he?
No, probably about 5'6".
Yeah,
Oh,
I'd
not
say
that
5'6".
big. About 5'2" or 3" is all.
Oh, I was,
Oh, he's taller than
he
that.
was taller than that. He was probably 5'6",
Yeah.
5'5", somewhere along there.
You do,
Wasn't very big,
you could do pull-ups, you were saying?
but when he, years ago, when he was younger, why, he used to chin himself.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And he would have contests, I guess, with neighbor guys, but he could reach up and grab a limb on a tree and chin himself 20 times with one arm. He was strong, about the strongest guy in the country.
How old were you all when your father died?
Let's see, he was 75,
2.
72,
Daddy,
Uh-huh.
72.
And
So
we
it's
were living
57?
in,
he had a stroke.
we were
Yeah.
living in our new house by Parker's.
Yeah,
And he called me and he wanted me to come over and talk to him. And he said, why don't you and Daryl get a loan and get some pump line to spray water in that canyon? He said, yeah, I know you could get the money because you both have jobs. And I said, no, we don't want to do that, Daddy. So I went back over to Parker's, and I wasn't over there more than about an hour, and they called and said, he's had a stroke, and he's real sick. And so that's the last
yeah.
we
I
were
was
living in town.
I was in Jerome, ran the Jerome store, and they called me, and I headed for Buell, and he lasted for about 14, 15 days,
Yeah.
I think 6 weeks that he was in a coma
Yeah.
almost.
quite a while,
Yeah.
and he passed away. He was 72.
That was 1957, right?
I have to look those things up to be right on it, because I don't remember.
I think he was the year before I was born, if I remember right.
Well, the last day Dad was out on the farm, he put this pump in. He wanted to pump water up on this sagebrush hill. And we got the pump in, and he said, I'd like to see that water run. So I went up and took the ditcher, made a ditch, and turned the pump on. He watched the water come out, and it just tickled to death, and that was the last time he's ever out on the farm.
Hmm.
Oh,
But he wanted to see that water run up there.
But he sure had a lot of respect for water. When I was a little kid and I'd follow him around and ask him if he'd ever seen God or he knew who God was. And he said, God is love. And he said, this water running on the pasture here is the lifeblood of the planet. He said, without this water, nothing on this planet would work right. He had a lot of understanding of things like that. And his old black encyclopedia, that's the only big old, he read it all the time. And then I lost a book of his called that Peace book, and I thought I loaned it to you when you was living with Dee. Not living with him, but
What's
married
the
to
name of it?
Peace of Mind, I think it was called.
I'll look and see.
Yeah, and Daddy just thought that book was wonderful. And he loaned it to me to read, and I was thinking I loaned it to you, but it's been a long time ago.
I can look and see if I've got it
Yeah.
somewhere.
But he wanted us to get an education. He said he didn't have a chance to get one, and he said, that's something nobody can take from you. He said, that's yours, what you get. And he said, get a good education. So we did the best we could.
You know, I never saw him sit and read very much, but he just quite a while before he passed away, he was reading the Bible.
Oh, he knew his Bible up really well.
Yeah, and he picked that thing up and read it and read it and read it, and I didn't know he could even read that well.
Yeah.
What kind of a dad was he? What'd you learn from him?
Could run
Honesty.
faster.
Keep picking. We was out picking rocks when old Ed, what was his name? Bogle. He was spraying hay up there on Joe Klein's, and all of a sudden he hit the ditch bank, the airplane upside down, and we was all excited, and we was gonna go up there and My dad said, you guys just keep picking rocks. He said, he can take care of himself.
They'll take care of him.
Was he okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The big old biplane, he just hit the ditch bank and just slid on his nose a little bit and went over on his back like that.
Oh.
He come crawling out from under there and walked around it.
And Daddy always loved picnics. We'd always go to Hagerman for a picnic on the 24th of July, and we just did that every year. And whether Mom was too tired to go, she'd just always get everything ready, and we'd always go to have a picnic. And the fair, we went to the fair every year. Fiddy and I would pull weeds out of corn for the whole summer for $1, and we'd go to the fair. She and I would have $1 to spend, but stuff only cost a dime.
I know, he always said, stand on your own 2 feet. Don't let anyone overdo you. And he said,
You're not better than anyone else,
Yeah.
but no one's better than you.
just stand on your own 2 feet.
I remember we went to the fair one year, and he always liked to go to the rodeo. So we went to the rodeo, came out of the rodeo, and the Lupo plane was right there as you come out of the rodeo ground.
Yeah.
And he said, let's go on the Lupo plane. And I was game for most anything in those days. And so we got on that Lupo plane, and all I can remember is going,
How old was he?
Huh?
How old was he?
How old was he?
He was Daddy.
Oh.
He was older.
He was probably,
Did he
it
get
was
on
me
the
that,
Lupo plane?
it was me that was making the noise, not him. He was doing fine. But
What is a Lupo plane? What was it?
It was, they went around.
I wanted to go around.
Oh, upside down.
upside down, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't afraid to try anything once.
Then he took Mom and Phyllis and me, and I don't know if you boys were with us, but we went out to the airport. And he wanted us to have an airplane ride, and Mom didn't want to do it. But I did. And I think I'm the only one that went up. 'Cause
I think I went too.
I think we both did.
I like to do things like that.
I remember one of the good old memories is in the summer, hook the horses to the wagon and head for Melon Valley. Go down and bring back a whole load of cantaloupes and watermelons.
Watermelons. He loved Melon Valley. He wanted
Yeah.
to move down there.
It'd
Mom
take
said-
all day to go down there and load up and come back.
He tried to talk Mom into living in Melon Valley. He just loved it. He said the temperature's so nice down there, and Mom said, I don't want to live down in a hole like that.
She didn't like the people that was down there.
First place that he proved up on was
In Melon
top,
Valley.
well, it was right at the top of Melon Valley,
Yeah, top of Melon
down
Valley.
on the west end of it. And he always had a kind of a desire to go back to Melon Valley,
I
but
know it. He couldn't get Mom back down
he
there.
always thought it would be a good place to raise cattle. His idea was to raise cattle.
Yeah.
So that's why you always had meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Remember, every time we went to Grandma's house, you knew you were gonna get beef.
Yeah, hey,
Meat and potatoes.
yeah, we're only about 5 years difference between the oldest and the youngest of our family. Polly being the oldest and me being the youngest.
Mom had 4 of us in 5 years. Daddy wanted 12, and she said after the 4th one he could have them.
So I've heard a couple of stories you've told that Grandma told about, she used to get in a little trouble when she was younger.
With a catamount?
Well, yeah, she didn't want to go to school, and she told me they call him a catamount. It's like a mountain lion. And she told me this, she'd seen this, and the teacher even took them out looking for the tracks. They couldn't find no tracks because she just didn't want to go to school that way.
I never heard that story.
Yeah, about the cat. Yeah.
No.
So I understand that there's some thumb suckers here and finger suckers. What happened to you with the,
No. Well, Chris sucked his thumb. And I was a little more intelligent. I took these two fingers. And Mom was gonna told us that if we wouldn't quit that we were gonna grow a tail. So this one morning we woke up and I'll be darned if we didn't have a tail. She had taken bacon rind, and that was the bottom of a bacon, and it was the hide, actually the hide, and she cut it in strips and she taped one of those on each of us. There we were, woke up in the morning with this tail. I don't know whether it cured Chris, but it kind of made me wonder if I was doing the right thing.
How'd you get them off?
We went swimming.
We went swimming.
And they fell off, and we so dang tickled that the tails fell off, we didn't suck our fingers out.
And Biddy sucked her thumb, and I just chewed my fingernails, which was even worse. But anyway, Mom made her a gray cover for her thumb, and she called it a dead mouse. And so she wouldn't suck her thumb over that.
Ew.
Sounds like she was good at teaching lessons.
So I still remember you telling me once that Grandma would drive people into town quite a bit, but there was a neighbor lady that wasn't
Well,
always
there were
very
two
clean.
of them that
Oh,
were they weren't very clean. Tell about it.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, my mom would say now to Mrs. Oliver, she said, now, I'll take you to town, but you gotta clean up first. This is Mrs. Raz Oliver, you know.
Yeah.
And the other one was Mrs. Clark, and she had a lot of money, but she was filthy as far as the way she kept house or dressed. And Mom says, now, I'll take you to town, but I want you to clean up first. So Mom would take them to town. But Mom was real good to people. She would take them and so they could get groceries. And
What kind of home remedies and medicines did I remember Grandma liked mentholatum. There was
Oh,
lots of that. But
drink
what else?
lots of water.
Sulfur and lard.
but that was for itch. Everybody at school got the itch.
Yeah.
And they would get itch on their bodies, the boys. And so, sulfa, and lard, you mix it all up together and spread it on them to get rid of the rash. So it worked.
So there's something about pies, Chris and the pies.
Oh,
Oh,
Mom was quite a lodge person. Moose Lodge was half of her life. And
Yeah.
anyway, this one particular night she was going to make pies and take them to the lodge. Seemed like we were in a pickup,
We were.
but I don't know why she was driving the pickup. But anyway, she had these pies in the seat of the car, and as she started into town, she got up almost to the half a mile up the road, and she asked for those pies. And Chris was sitting in the chocolate pie. And Mom, with her Pennsylvania
Dutch.
German temper.
German temper, opened the door and she threw those pies over into Uncle Walter's field. And so then she went back home. She wasn't going to go in the lodge with Chris sitting in the pie. But anyway, the next morning we had to go up and get those pie
pans.
dishes, pie pans, bring them back home.
Yeah, Mom and Dad were charter members in the Buell Lodge, Moose Lodge. And Mom always wanted me to join, so I did. And Darryl didn't believe in that kind of stuff,
No.
and he said he'd rather nobody should do anything you want to, and I'll support you. So I went to Lodge for about a year, and I didn't like it either. And Darryl says, you don't have to go to things you don't like. He said, just don't do it. And so I dropped out of Fiddle and Stitch and Moose Lodge and 2 other things that I went to. Fiddle and Stitch was a sewing club. Oh, and then the flower, Pedal Pals. Darryl called them my pedal pusher pals. And I didn't want to, I kind of like to do my own thing, you know. But they stayed in the Moose Lodge, and then they went back east to, the Moose Lodge was set up so that if something would happen to the parents, where the kids could go to Moose Haven and live. And it was a insurance kind of for our family, you know.
Yeah.
in Moose Haven in,
Moose
Florida.
Haven.
No, it wasn't in Florida, it was
I
in,
thought it was in Florida.
Uh-uh.
back in Nebraska or someplace
Somewhere
back in there.
back there, Moose Haven it was
Yeah.
called.
Yeah,
Chris, you were telling about the horse and the tailgate. What was that?
oh, okay. Well, my dad had this old Ford pickup and never had any racks on the side of it. And this old horse he had, old Babe, would just jump right up on there and ride. And everybody in Casper was always talking about, that's sure something that's it. Then pickup going by with this horse standing up on there, no sideboards or anything. And I come home from the service just on a furlough, and he said, I gotta go check the cattle today, and that tailgate on that pickup was bent out. I thought, I wonder how he ever bent that tailgate out like that. That time it's real steep going down into the Salmon Falls Creek where we had the cattle. And he drove down in there and turned the pickup around. We checked the cattle, and he loaded old Babe up, and he wound that pickup up, I don't know how many thousand RPMs. Old Babe, she just leaned way out over the cab, and he just let her go, and she sat down right on the end gate and bent. That's how he bent that damn end gate. And then another time he was coming back from the canyon, he had the horse in the trailer, and he always run the horse that had a chain around his neck, and always run the chain up, hooked it on the pickup. And he was going down the road and heard all this noise and looked back, and there was a part of the trailer sitting clear back there, and this old horse trotting along with his front of the trailer on his neck. Damn trailer come loose, and the horse just run right out, right through the front of the trailer.
Oh, grief.
That's quite a story.
He was real good at driving, and whenever he wanted to stop, he didn't push on the clutch and the brake. He just said, whoa, and pushed on the brake, and the old truck moved until it died. But he never did learn how to drive right.
Oh.
And Phyllis, you said that Grandma and you delivered a baby? Or,
No, these were
Calves.
Delivered a
calves.
cow.
oh, they were cows.
Calves,
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Tell about that, because it wasn't on camera.
We had a cow that was gonna have a baby. And so we had her in the barn, and she's moaning and groaning and hurting real bad, so Mom says, come on, Phyllis, let's come and get it done. So Mom came on, and we reached up in there and got the calf out, pulled it out, and the calf lived. And they had a nice calf.
Mom lived too? The mama lived?
Hmm?
Mama cow lived too?
Yeah,
That's kind of a common thing, have to pull a lot of calves.
Yep.
They come backwards and everything.
Especially with small cows and a big
bulls.
bull.
Yeah.
He was quite a bit older than Grandma then.
About 17, 18 years. She always said 20, but
18 was her.
yeah,
What
I think
she
18
was,
is
yeah.
about right. And then she married Grandpa Tommy, and he was 20 years older than her, wasn't he?
I don't know.
I think so.
I couldn't keep track of all
And
of
then
that.
she married George, and their birthday was a week apart.
Were
Same
they still
age.
living on the farm when you died?
When Harry died, were they living
No.
on
Oh,
the
they
farm?
were in town.
No, they hadn't
Living
moved
in
into
town. They
town, because he
moved
hadn't
to
been
town.
feeling good, so they went to town and they bought Mrs. Van Houten's 2 houses there on 12th Street, and Grandpa Tommy lived across the street in that big home there, and his wife had been dead for quite a while. And Mom would take him over a piece of pie, or, because she was working at night at the nursing home, and she'd get home in the daytime, and she'd always check, make sure Grandpa Tommy was okay. And then one day, after a long, long time, she called me in there, and she said, Polly, what would you think if I would want to marry Mr. Tomlinson? And I said, that old man, he's lame. And And I always hated that because he was so good to Mom, and his whole family were good to us. And we got real well acquainted with the Tomlinsons. They're wonderful people. But,
I remember Mrs. Van Houten.
pardon?
I remember Mrs. Van Houten. She wrote poetry.
Oh, yes. And see, I used to go, when she was losing her eyesight, I'd go there and I would read to her. She loved books. And I'd read to her. And,
Did Cody die before she?
oh, yeah, Cody died quite a while before, and then Elder's father died. He had a big cancer on his face, and he died. And Cody died. And Cody Roberts was related to the guy on Lawrence Welk that sings. He's dead now too, but
Cody was?
uh-huh,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah. She was and Mom said, well, you can tell when you see him on television, he's got that big long nose, just like Cody had. He sings all the time. He's dead now, but he always sings with the lady, and she's dead too now, but Roberts. What is his name?
I don't know.
We watched Lawrence.
I only watched Lawrence Welk when I was a kid and went over to Dad's house.
Oh, well, I watched
Because he only got that channel.
I still watched it now.
We watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Those are lessons you learned from your dad. What about your mom? What'd you learn from her?
Keep your mouth shut.
When
Well,
we
she
were
stuck,
learning to cook, she just
When-
says,
when-
cook that. She never helped us, we just cooked it.
when she stuck her tongue out like that,
Like
She
you
was
this.
better
bad.
get braced, 'cause you're gonna get it.
So she was the tough one.
Yeah, you didn't back talk to her or nothing, you just hoped that she didn't get too rough, but I can remember have her tongue in her teeth like that.
Like this.
Well, at least you had a warning.
Well, I always liked everything to be organized, you know. And Mom, she was in a hurry to get things done and fitted to, and they're real clean, but they never did want to worry about organizing stuff. And so I would, when Mom would be gone for a long time, and then I'd go through the cupboard and I'd put all the spices in order and all the plates together and all the cups together. So then Mom would come home and she'd be making something and she'd jerk the thing open, she couldn't find this or that. And it just hurt my feelings so bad, because I even built a shelf one time to put the spices all in order. And then she said, old Aunt Lizzie piddling around, she says, Fitty and I gotta get this done. So
You took-
anyway,
You took too much time,
I know,
and
but
we
I
want
like,
to do it real fast.
I like things organized.
I remember Rolly's wife, she wanted to learn to make shoe fly pie. And she'd wanting Grandma to give her a recipe, and Grandma was always, well, it's a pinch of this and a glug of that.
And full flour.
There was no measurement, it was just a couple glugs and a couple pinches and a shake of this. And
She was a good cook, but she
Well-
didn't follow very many recipes.
no, she just knew what went in there.
Yeah.
When I took home ec at school, the teacher said, now you have to have measuring cups and spoons.
Yeah.
So I told that to Mom, and Mom said, oh, that's a lot of craziness, she said. You don't have to have that stuff. And I said, Mom, I've got to. I won't get a good grade if I don't get them. So I had my first measuring cups and spoons when I was in high school in home ec.
Did you have any favorite teachers, speaking of teachers, that you'd like to
Oh,
Mr.
I,
Hudson,
remember?
oh, I love Mr. Cully, and he's the one that
Mr.
followed.
Hudson was good.
Mr. Hudson, I liked my teachers. I think I just liked all of my teachers except I was afraid of one. And it was Mr. Thomas, and he was the one that shook somebody's desk and it came loose from
Yeah.
the floor. George Thomas.
He was a bad one, old Bob Thomas.
Bob Thomas.
You were saying that when they were in Castleford, there was a different house, a little house on the prairie kind of thing. What was that? Is that different than the one that
Well,
we built?
The first house was down on the corner. That was his first house he built. And then he built this one not the one I live in now, but one next to where I live in. And I just call it the little house on the prairie, 'cause it's right out in the middle of the sagebrush.
Must have been, what, 3 rooms if there was that many? Maybe 2 rooms.
There was one big room, and it had a division in the middle, and it's, one is a bedroom on each side, and then built a little kitchen on the other side.
Oh,
And you never got, if I recall, when you didn't have chairs at your kitchen table?
oh, our main table had 2 or 3 chairs, and then there was a bench on the other side, and that's where Chris and I sat on that bench. We just weren't big enough to sit on chairs yet.
Now, before that, we just stood up. at
And
the
we
table.
usually stood by the table and
Just
ate.
stood there, eat.
We didn't sit down.
Wow. So tell me about the squatters. What was that about?
Okay, it was during the Depression, or after the Depression, there were a lot of poor people. Now, these people were from Arkansas, and they had come to Idaho, and they knew about what's called squatters' rights, and you could move in on some sagebrush land if you sat there long enough and built a small place to live and plant some trees, you could claim the land. And that's what they tried to do on Daddy's 40 that was the east of us. So you tell the rest of it now.
Well, the one family was pretty nice, and they were decent people, and there was EJ, and I can't remember the other's name.
Yeah, Evelina,
Twins.
Paulina, Wayne.
Evelina and Paulina, because we gave them our Easter coats. You know,
Yeah.
Mom
Oh.
said we could give them our Easter coats to wear to
Anyway,
church.
They were pretty nice people, and they were decent. You could talk to them, but the other ones lived up top of the hill. They weren't very nice. They were very nasty, and I can remember walking to school, and the girls, I can't remember. I'm pretty tough on memory, but I can't remember the
Well,
girls.
Dorothy had that, they call her lockjaw, because she hadn't had attention when she had a tooth, so she had a real deformed face.
Well, they were kind of different anyway. We thought they were freaks.
Dad. So earlier you were talking about the ice and how you had ice for the winter. You got ice in the winter, so you have it all summer. Could you tell me about the?
Well, the hard man would saw the ice out of the canal and the blocks, and they put it in the shed at the barn and cover it with straw. Put it on straw and cover it with straw, and it would hold all till the next summer. We'd have
For ice cream.
ice cream in the summer.
Kind of ice cream.
Oh, she'd make all kinds of ice cream. She'd make chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream and peach.
My favorite was chocolate.
Once in a while, you could get bananas, and we'd have banana ice cream. But wasn't very often we got bananas. We were kind of a
And I never did get to eat a whole banana. I thought when I grow up and I have a pocketbook, I'm going to buy bananas and I'm just going to eat the whole bunch myself. And Chris said he was going to buy pineapple and eat a whole can of pineapple all by himself.
So did you?
No.
We used to get all the neighbors along in the summertime, and there was several young guys, and there was one older fellow, and he was blind, and but we'd always have a get together in the evening, and we'd play games and fix meals, roasting ears,
There's some
weenies or something, and a whole bunch of us get together, and we'd probably be, what, 15, 18 of us
Yeah.
kids, and that's kind of how we made our fun. We made our own fun. We didn't have tickets to the movies and cell phones as you could read and go down the road and whatever. It was just kind of growing up.
So you told me once it really hurts to get hit by a corn cob.
Oh, we used to. My dad used to feed the cows corn that he'd get from the corn factory, and there'd always be these corn cobs, and we'd have corn cob fights. neighbor kids would come over, and the Hammonds and the Easter days, and we'd have these corn cob fights, and boy, it hurt when you get hit with those old soggy corn cobs.
I remember Dad was up the mountains and old Leon Hammond got hit right there in the mouth, and so I had to go get Fred to haul him to town to have his mouth sewed up.
Yeah.
Gosh. I must have been off somewhere on all this.
It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
You're talking about going to town and how you had to get kind of dressed up to go to town, and then washing your hair. Tell us about that.
Oh, we go down to the creek. We call it, Mom called it the creek. I think you call it the creek now, or vice versa. Anyway, that doesn't matter. But we'd go down there and she'd give us an egg, and that was your shampoo. And I found out since that that's real good for your hair. It has a lot of protein. And we'd wash our hair in the creek and rinse it and wash our feet off and get all ready to go to take our music lesson.
Nowadays, that's one of the treatments, is to beat up an egg yolk and rub it through your hair.
Yeah, by old Leon Hammond falling in the calendar.
We had a down by our barn, and there was a gate there where the cows all went through and out on the road and took them down to the pasture. And there was always a kind of a, we called it manure puddle there, but it was actually water, and the cows would run through it, and it was all
Slushy.
it was manure is what it was. Anyway, Dean and Leora come over, and they were going to go to town with Mom and see a movie. Whenever Mom would go to Buell and go to the lodge, and then the kids would go to the show. But anyway, was getting the cows out, and Leora was up on this side of the fence, opening the gate, and she fell off of the rock pile and fell into that sludge.
Soupy manure.
She come up out of there, ran down over her face, and Mom grabbed part of her clothes and threw them in the canal and washed them off. And she held her back over home and got her changed clothes so she could come in and go to town and go to the show.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I remember Chris telling me stories about all the Indian places out in the desert you found.
Well, just campsites, yeah, where they would have camped.
And didn't you find a cave where they smoked meat?
That was that cave up there on
That was
Hawes Creek.
up on
Yeah.
Hawes Creek on
Yeah,
the mountain.
It's up quite a ways, and when we went in there was an old salmon skeleton laying on the floor, and we think maybe they used it when they smoked meat or something, but there was no artifacts in it. It was just a cave.
The ashes, we dug down the ashes, 2 or 3 feet?
Yeah, just
And
ashes.
just ashes, so total ashes in a little cave.
Mm.
So what kind of cool things did you find out in the desert?
Oh, it's all kinds of Indian tools they made out of rocks, grinding tools and rubbing stones, and arrowheads and stuff like that.
So you had hired men on the farm. Tell us about the hired guys. And I understand Polly has a special story about one of them.
Then he always had at least 2, and they slept in the bunkhouse back of the house, because we slept on the Davino till they built the new house. We always slept on the Davino in the front room, Phyllis and me, and
We slept in the tent.
you slept in the tent, and the hired men slept in the tent out there too.
Yeah. In the wintertime, that was pretty cool, sleeping
I
in
mean,
that
that
tent.
was in the winter time too, and it didn't have no heat in it. You just get under the covers and run and everything else, try to get warmed up.
Yeah,
And your pants in the morning, you just stand them up, they're just
I doubt.
froze. Wasn't they?
Yeah, I can remember getting up on Christmas morning, and the tent was probably, from here to the road out there, the house.
Yeah, about that far.
Yeah.
about that far. And we didn't put on our clothes, we just in our long handled underwear, and we'd run through the snow barefooted to get into the house for the Christmas. But carrying what clothes we could carry. But that was the good old days. They built a new house. The house that he's got is a shop now. And so Chris and I got to move into the old house. And we had a room there, and the hired man and us had a room where we spend the night. And that was where we spent our time, was in there. Well, no, he built a
He built a frame
built a
around
tent
the
house.
tent.
He built a tent house first,
Yeah,
and built a frame, and then put the tent over the top of it. So it was canvas on top, but it had a wooden floor and
Sides.
wooden sides. And that was our place where we slept, and that was a little bit better than sleeping out in the tent.
Well, to start out with, we slept in that old bus. Had an old horse-drawn school bus.
well, that was our
Yeah.
playhouse.
And
Used to be our
we,
playhouse.
we slept in there till we had the tent house.
Yeah.
So I heard you used to pick on the hired man, Jim, is that it?
Huh?
Anderson?
Yeah, Jim, Alan.
Oh, Alan?
Alan,
Alan Anderson.
Yeah, he used to. Well, he was a good hired man. Some of our hired men weren't that good, but Alan was a good hired man. But I'd get under his skin once in a while, and I'd call him a few names, and he'd take after me, and I'd run over and grab a hold of the electric fence. He wouldn't touch me, because electricity didn't bother me. Get down and grab a hold of the fence anytime, and Chris couldn't even get close to the fence. He was afraid of it.
Well, I don't like any electricity either. I can.
and then Polly ended up marrying a hired man. Can you
Yeah.
tell us how that happened?
Well, he was in the service 5 years, and then when he got home from the war, why, I was out of college, and he wanted to get married, and I said, well, I want to teach for a while. So we didn't just get married just right away, but anyway, we did get married finally. And
But he was a hired man before that?
when I was still living at home, before college, and Mother wrote to him when he was in the Aleutian Islands, and then I wrote to him when he was in Belgium and France. Then when he got home, the war was over, and Fiddy was in nurses training in Seattle, wasn't it? And so I talked to her, and I said, let's have a double wedding at home. So she and Bob and Daryl and I got married at home in our new house.
Oh, I didn't know you guys had a double wedding.
Yeah, we
Yep.
had a double wedding.
Yep.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Save a lot of money that
You
way.
could.
Yeah.
Well, Phyllis, you were telling me that it was difficult to get cleaned up though, because
About what?
it was difficult getting cleaned up because you guys ran around.
Oh, it was, because we'd be running around in the manure. And if it dried on your feet, you couldn't hardly get it off, you just have to scrub it off.
And Grandma wouldn't take you to town with your
No.
manure feet, huh? You had some great animals, if I recall. You had a dog that was pretty amazing.
Oh, old Silver.
Silver.
Silver was quite a dog, and Chris got him. I don't know. We got him at one of the neighbors' someplace.
Old Lady Oliver.
Well, they all
I
had
was
him.
up there in the sagebrush and I found a bull chain. And they had a bull up there and had lost a chain, and I took the chain down to Mrs. Oliver. I said, I found your bull chain up there, and she said, oh, gosh, that's pretty nice of you. And she said, I got these puppies here, why don't you just take one of them? That's where I got old Silver.
I never did know where Silver came
Yeah.
That's where he come from.
What kind of dog was he?
He
Oh,
was
smartest
an
dog
Australian
in the world.
Shepherd,
Australian Shepherd.
but he was an awful good dog.
He
And
finally got to, we'd just get done milking, and he'd go in and get the cows and take them a half mile down, put them in the pasture, and then wait till you come down and shut the gate. And in the evening, you could go down there and open the gate and let him out and go to Casford, and he'd go up and get them cows out of the pasture and take them back up and put them in the cradle all by himself.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
that?
And if the boys would drop something, you know, he'd
Going to
Well,
school.
yeah, going to school, he'd bring it home and take it to the house.
If they dropped anything, he'd pick it up and bring it home, and he lived until he got run over by a spud truck,
Yeah, I
Easter
did.
Day spud truck,
I never did know it
and
happened to him.
kind of crippled him, and then he didn't do too well after that. And he finally died, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good dog. So how long did you live without electricity? Was that,
I can't remember when we didn't have electricity.
Oh.
so
Oh, I
we
can
always-
remember when they put it in.
Yeah.
Put the poles down the road, and we still had the old coal lamps.
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking I can remember that now,
Yeah.
because we had the light bulb in the
Just
ceiling.
one old light bulb up there swinging around back and
Yeah,
forth.
Yeah.
Everything was moving back and forth.
but Mom always had a washing machine, that's what made me think that,
Yeah.
what ran the washing machine, it had to be electric.
well, they made gas washing machines.
It had Maytag washers. I don't
With the
know
old
if she ever
foot
had a
starter?
Maytag.
Well, I don't, she washed by hand.
Yeah, I think did.
She had the washboard.
Well, she had that too, but
I don't think she ever had a washing machine until after we got electricity.
probably not. But that's way back there, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. I can remember when, they put the telephone in from our house to Bybie's to Davis's.
Old Lester Bobby put it in.
Yeah, Lester Bybie put that
Oh.
in.
Put the phone in. We thought, boy, that's something we can talk to the neighbor.
And I'd listen to them talk to each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah, the phone was ringing, you know, we're pick it up and listen to everybody else talk.
Oh, I remember party lines.
I stayed all night with Jap Joe's one night, and they treated me really just like a queen, you know. They went down to the store and bought anything I wanted to eat, and they had real wonderful sandwiches. We liked minced ham, so they bought a whole lot of minced ham, and we had minced ham sandwiches, and they were just like American people, you know. So it didn't seem much difference. So
That was Joe's,
Jap Joe's.
Chip Joe's.
He used to bring them big old long white radishes over too.
Yeah.
Stuff out of the garden all the time.
Oh, they grew the long, those are like daikon radishes, they're big,
Yeah,
long
they'd be
and white.
about
Yeah,
the
they
big
would
round white
always
stuff.
give us all those big
Yeah.
radishes and stuff. Mom would take us over and they would dig them up and we'd come home with a whole bunch of radishes and what else would they give us?
Well, they were just good, anything they could. And I never went in their house, Kitty of course did, because she stayed all night over there sometimes, but once I went in the house and they had a big dish pan of rice, this high on the table, and there was flies all over it, you know. And I don't know what they did with that rice,
We ate it.
You guys told me you drank out of the canal, but, you know.
Yeah, they ate stuff like that. Once the flies didn't hurt it, you know.
We used to
And we
drink out
used
of
to
the
drink
canal.
out of it, now
Well,
you
sure
just
we
lay
did.
down your
That's
belly and get
good
down
water,
there.
Eat carp out of the canal.
Yeah.
Used to be, thought that was a good eating the carp.
The boys would catch these, they're actually big goldfish.
Well, it was a big carp.
Carp.
Yeah, carp are goldfish
Yeah.
though, aren't they?
No, I don't think so.
I thought they were.
They're just a,
Trash fish.
Anyway, the boys would bring them home and Mom could cook them and you could just eat them and they were good, you
There were a
know.
lot of bone in them.
You had to watch
An
for the
awful lot of
bones.
bone in
but-
them.
What other thing did you eat, like, oh, I don't know, rock chucks?
Nope,
No,
Dandelions.
lots of
Dandelions.
lots of
We eat
dandelions.
dandelions at home. Cook
mustard.
them just like spinach.
I know.
And they're good. You put vinegar on it.
I went to
I've
dinner at
eaten
grandma.
dandelions in her house.
Yeah, I went to dinner at grandma's and she fed me dandelions. I'm
Out of her yard.
like, thanks, that's great.
They're good for you.
I'm
Yeah,
sure they
Never
are.
eat anything that was green. Used to eat mustard too, plants.
Rabbits,
Eat a lot of rabbits.
We ate rabbits.
We ate
Mom would
Cottontails.
never let us see them or
tame
kill.
rabbits. We ate tame
Yeah,
rabbits.
Mom would hold the rabbit down in the barrel and she would hit it down there.
Cut their head off.
She'd never let us see or kill the rabbit, you know, 'cause it'd make the rabbit cry. But rabbit was good. Tastes like fried chicken.
Sometimes we would run out of bread and just little things like vinegar and stuff, so we had a little sweet little old lady, Mrs. Bybee, that lived a half a mile away down on the corner. So we would walk down there and borrow some bread from her and walk all the way back home with the bread. That's how we got, how we borrowed things with our neighbor. And she was real good, real sweet, so she'd loan us anything.
And
So,
her husband was an alcoholic. He was always drunk.
Tell that
And they
story.
had a tub as big as this table.
We went back,
We never seen
they
such.
took us back to Pennsylvania whenever I was, I think, 5 years
Yeah,
old.
he is 5.
They've
Chris
been
was
here 10 years. Then they
6,
went back.
huh?
They've been out here 10 years and
And
then took her back.
we stopped in Chicago and visited these
Yarnals.
people and I can't remember their name, but
Yarnals.
Yarnals,
Yarnals.
but they lived in a house and they had tile floors, and I remember it was kind of a different kind of a house. But anyway, Chris and I found the bathroom, and they had a bathtub. We'd never seen a bathtub. So we filled the thing with water, and we were diving into it. We had water all over the house. And I think they finally got rid of us and sent us on towards Pennsylvania.
Oh my goodness.
The poor people.
So how'd the rest of the trip to Pennsylvania go?
Oh, we got back to Pennsylvania, and Chris and I were very good kids. We didn't get in any trouble. But Grandma and Grandpa had a big orchard, and
Is that near Hoof?
near Hoof.
Mhm.
And we'd go out and knock apples out of the tree, and
They had
and
horn-
had a hornet's nest up
Yeah,
in the
hornet's
the
nest.
tree.
Well,
We'd throw apples at the hornet's nest, and they'd get after us, and we'd head for the house and get behind the screen door. And,
Did you get stung?
huh?
Uh-oh.
Never got stung.
Poor old grandma, she couldn't get out of the house because of wasps.
Hornets.
Hornets, yeah.
When we got back there, my great grandma was living with them. This had been Grandpa Ira's mother.
Oh,
And the kids found a different cane, and she couldn't walk with her other cane anymore until you brought her that other cane that you found.
I didn't remember that part.
Yeah.
And one day their grandma took us up, some old mountain people lived up on a mountain called Finks. And she took us up there, and when we got there was just an old Mama Fink with a baby in her arms, and nobody else, and pretty soon the kids started coming out of the grapevines and out front of the house, and there's 15 of them. And she wanted to know if we wanted to drink water, and she had the baby diapers in the water.
You said no, right?
Yeah, it didn't look very appetizing. But I never saw so many kids in all my life. Of course, I was only 5 years old, so.
And Grandpa, this big Barney had a big loft and had a shiv, which is a pulley and ropes up there, and fella shiv swinging on that and fell off, about killed herself.
So I heard a story about a farm implement, something that
Yeah.
hooks on the back of the tractor you were playing on?
Oh, no, they had horse equipment, but anyway, Grandma's house was up on a hill, pretty good sized hill, and Chris and I'd go out there and we'd take some of that machinery and push it over the edge, and watch it crash as it went down the hill. And
Rolled all the tires we could find. Grandpa had a brand new plow. And I told Rolly, you get it rolling, I'll throw a rock under the wheel and stop it. And the last time I seen it was going in over and down the mountain.
Finally, Grandma said, take those little Hessians home and don't
And
bring them back here again.
don't never bring him back.
they had a spring about partway down the hill on the side, and that's where they kept all the stuff they wanted to keep cool, and they didn't have refrigeration in those days.
Milk and butter and
Milk and butter and everything was in
buttermilk.
this little spring, and that's how they kept everything cool. But we had a lot of fun back there. We pushed a wagon over the side of the hill, and we pushed a plow over the hill, and I don't know what else.
Well, that old buggy was gonna run it over the hill and had a hornet's nest in it, so we left it alone.
Let's see, what else happened back there?
I don't
Wasn't
know.
too long after.
Grandma had an old oak tree, more hickory nuts. She'd have us go out and pick them. Well, green, our hands would be plumb stained green from picking nuts. Something for us to do and feed them to the hogs.
Bet she's trying to keep you busy.
Anything to keep us out of the trouble.
Did you go out there on a train or?
No, we went back in the car.
Oh, that's a long drive. How fast could you go back then?
Oh,
It was 5 days.
took 5 days to go back there.
2-lane all the way.
Huh?
2-lane highway?
Yeah. old
Yeah.
Highway, part of Highway 30 and the rest of it Highway 66.
3,900 miles,
Yeah.
I believe.
Oh,
Well, at
Mom
least-
took us back into the woods and showed us where she went to school, in a little, one-room school. And it just held, probably 1 to 8 grades. And we thought that was really exciting to see the little house where she went to school, because out where we lived, we had a big schoolhouse, you know. So it was quite interesting.
that
What
long.
kind of jobs did you have as kids?
Picking
Jobs?
spuds.
Picking
Picking spuds.
Where are we going?
Picking
Oh,
rocks.
picking rocks on the farm and picking spuds in the fall. And I started Glen Easter Day, and I went over to, what was his name? The preacher. Todd's over west of Castleford, and that was the first job of picking spuds. We were just little kids. I was probably what,
About 8.
fifth or sixth grade, something like that. Wasn't very old anyway, and it was quite a job. I couldn't hardly lift a basket of spuds, let alone.
I was working for Jap Joe because they would take us in and give us a job, you know, Japanese Joe. And I was a friend of Tomie's. And so her and I would go pick spuds, and then we'd get tired. So we'd just sit there and fiddle-diddle around. And we did that for most of the fall. That we'd go pick spuds, and we earned all our own school clothes, and we weren't very old.
I
We
remember
let school out 2 weeks every fall for spud harvest.
But I picked spuds that one day, one time over at this preacher's house, and then I got a job scattering sacks for the spud crew for Easter days, and I did that for probably until I was old enough to buck spuds, and I had to be probably out of high school or in high school, late high school, when I was big enough to lift a sack of spuds. Because I wasn't very big. I only weighed about 90 pounds when I graduated from high school.
Sack of spuds, 100 pounds, right?
No, a sack of spuds weighed about 40, 50 pounds.
Oh,
Because once you filled up in the field, you didn't sew them up.
Phyllis, you mentioned Japanese Joe, and I remember some story about when the internment camps were going on, that he was supposed to go, but he didn't. He was supposed to go to the internment camps, or something about the Castleford, kind of said, no, he's not going.
Well, the war started, and so Tomie and her family moved to Twin, and the boys were big enough to, they were going with them, and so,
Well, Tutso went with,
I
What
don't think,
the older boy went to Japan.
yeah,
Tetsuo
Tutso went,
one of the boys had to go to Japan, his name was Tetsuo, and he got killed over there. So what else?
well, no, he was okay when they went over, but they had to leave one of their boys over there. They couldn't bring
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't get killed as far as I know.
Yeah, Tetsuo got killed.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Anyway, the other boy was in this, he got in the service here, didn't he?
Bob.
Bob.
And
Real
Quiche,
real good people.
Quiche,
Quiche.
yeah.
Tomie and I would take turns
That was another
going
one of
to
the
Twin to
boys.
take music lessons.
Quiche.
I
piano
don't
lessons.
remember him.
yeah.
It seems to me I remember something about the internment camps, and they wanted them to go into the internment camps, and Castleford said, no, not this family. Is that,
No, I don't remember.
They didn't go to
anything like that.
internment camp,
I don't know why I have that memory, that story.
No, I
They were
don't remember that
old
one.
residents for years and years and years, and raised their kids there at Castleford, so
Very well thought of people.
they didn't have to go into internment camp. And we would have to get up at 4:30 every morning to go get the cows, to bring them up and milk them. And we have heard some of the neighbors say, that old Harry Reese sure isn't very good with those kids, making them get up that early. So,
I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go
Yeah.
down and get the cows. And I wasn't very big. And it was a half a mile down there to get the cows. And funny thing was that they had milk cows and beef cows in the same pasture.
And a bull with a chain
And
on
a
its
bull.
neck.
And you go down there and open the gate, and all the cows would come out, but the beef cows wouldn't. So you then bring all the milk cows up, bring them up to milk them. And I didn't do much of milking. My job was feeding the calves. Was get a bucket of milk and go out and teach the calves how to drink, and you get them to suck your finger, and then you stick the milk in it, and they learn how to drink out of a bucket. And that was my job. And I think I had 1 or 2 cows that I would milk, but they were milking 25 to 30 head of cows by hand. Mom and 2 girls and Chris. And
Chris didn't milk.
Yes, I
hired
did
man.
too.
the hired man
I milked
would
too.
milk too. But this was just the chores you did before you went to school. And then you'd come up and come out of the barn and get cleaned up as much as you could and put on some decent clothes, and
And eat your oatmeal. We always had to have our
Yeah.
bowl of oatmeal.
you had to have oatmeal for breakfast, and then get ready and go to walk a half a mile to go to the school.
Let's see, so Grandma raised chickens and sold eggs,
Right.
and so talk about that process and your jobs as kids with the chicken houses.
Well, we'd get the chicken house ready, and that was part of our job, was cleaning the chicken house. And it was kind of a nasty thing to do, but we'd have to clean all this chicken house and get it ready. And she'd get, 1,000 chickens?
2,000 peeps.
2,000?
Yeah,
Peepees.
unsexed.
paint the stools with black leaf 40.
Well,
so
this
that-
is the big chicken house. We're
That's a
talking
big chicken
about
house.
the
Those
peepee
little
house.
ones. And the little peepees, you get a couple thousand of those, and she'd, in this little old house that they had for the chickens, was about almost a half mile from the home, and she would go down there and sleep at night, sleep with the chickens, so she could take care of them, make sure they were kept warm. And the way Daddy fixed the chicken house is he dug a trench up through the middle of it underneath the ground, and took barrels tied them end to end, and then he would build a fire on the one end, and the smoke would, and flames would go through the barrels and up the chimney on the other side, and that's how he heated the chicken house. It was kind of a unique thing in those days, and that's where they would go down there and spend the night. Polly and Mom and I don't know if else ever spent the night down there with chickens or
No,
not.
I had to stay home and watch the boys.
Don't know who had the worst job
Yeah.
there.
But anyway, that was part of her raising chickens, and she raised chickens until I left home. She still had chickens.
And you had chicken thieves. Old Lester Bybee and Brainerd Davis was neighbors. They had a couple of girls with them, and they stopped there one night and stole some chickens. And my dad caught them. And old Lester said, you know, your dad says, I'm going to tell your mom what you done unless you work every weekend, pay for them chickens you stole. And I talked to Lester years later, and he said, them was the most damn expensive chickens I ever eaten in my life.
So the eggs, where'd she take the eggs to?
Oh, she
In the hospital.
raised thousands of chickens and always had lots and lots of eggs. So first of every week we have to sit there and clean these eggs, and you couldn't wash them, you couldn't get them wet, you had to sand the manure dirt off of them, because that's the only way the hospitals would take
You
them.
had to candle them and weigh them.
You had to weigh them and you had to candle them. Candle them, you put the egg over she made a box and a light underneath, and you can actually look into the egg and see if there was any blood spots or anything in it. But this is called candling. So they candle the eggs, and she'd get these eggs all ready, and she'd take them to, there was a hospital in Buell, there was a hospital I think in Wendell, and the hospital in Twin. And she'd deliver eggs to all those, and then the eggs that was left, and there would be maybe 30, 60 dozen eggs left. And this old guy from Nevada would come by and call him Jim. And he had his little old truck, and he'd come every week, and he'd pick up all the extra eggs we had, and he would get, I think, cream, just about anything she had, and he would pay her for them, and he'd take them down to Nevada and sell them to the mines and stuff in Nevada. And but he'd come once a week, and that's kind of how our weeks went. We always had something to do. Never ran out of some job. If there was anything else, any extra time, why, Daddy had a job outside.
So, how'd you all do in school? I want to know what school was like in Castleford and how you all did at it. I know Dad got into some trouble.
Who, me?
Well, I heard you got into a little too.
We were good and studious. I wouldn't dare got a bad grade. And so I ended up as valedictorian of my class
Well, that's pretty good.
in high school.
Did you all, was it a one-room schoolhouse or?
No, it was a regular
It
school.
was-
They
1 through 8 grades, all in one building. And some people bought it now, and they have made a home in it. It's a beautiful home in there. They remodeled, and Spring and Herb Runyon bought it.
But they ended up, go ahead.
Then talk about going to school. When I was first grade, we had to walk up the hill, go to the bus at half a mile up the road to Schemes Corner. And one morning, it was winter and cold, and Chris got ready to go to school, and he took off out the door and heading up the hill, and I don't know, Paul or Phil said, he doesn't have any pants on.
Is that right?
So we had wear long handles, wear underwear, and then we had long overcoats. And that was gonna keep him warm enough to go to school, but Anyway, he had to come back home and get his pants on.
I'd be right uptown now.
But go up to the schemes corner, and I was pretty small. I only weighed about less than 35 pounds, first grade. And I remember Jack Stevens and the schemes boys put me in the mailbox. They had a big one of those big oversized mailboxes, and they put me in that mailbox. I didn't know whether I was going to go to school that day or not. But those are some of the things that happened.
In getting ready to go to school or just getting cleaned up, talk about that process, going down the creek, having dirty feet.
It'll take us quite a while. So if we had a good bath the night before, it wouldn't take us quite so long in the next day. So everybody would get a good bath, and the next day we'd be all ready to go to school, except wash our hands and our feet and go. And then we'd have to walk a mile. Yeah.
Half a mile.
Sometimes
Half
a
mile.
mile to school, to the
Bus.
corner. But earlier, before we got a bus, we would walk clear to Castleford. And we were just little tiny kids,
Yeah, that was in 1936 when they got the first buses.
6 or 7 years old.
And how far was that?
2.5
2.5 miles.
Pretty walk.
But that winter, we had pretty good heavy snowfall that winter. And the bus came around and had a load of kids, and they got as far as about 3/4 of a mile from our place, and they got stuck on this hill called, I can't remember the name of that hill,
Just a hill.
Folkel's Hill.
Focus Hill.
And the bus couldn't get up that hill. So all the kids went up and got in Folkel's house, and they put them inside and kept us warm. And I remember Daddy got down there, and he had a team of horses and an old V-ditcher. He drug that up the road and made a kind of a path for the bus to get up the hill and go to deliver the rest of the kids. And that was just one of the things that happened that winter. And I can't remember any more about that one.
Well, the snow would stay frozen, you know. We made steps from the back of the porch there out to the toilet, and those steps didn't thaw out all winter long. They were steps in the snow there, you know, and
Yeah.
it's never been that cold all
In
winter.
1936, it was cold. It was one of the biggest winters we ever had.
They don't have them like that anymore.
And the cows could go walk right over the fences.
Yeah.
The snow would drift, you know, on the fences, and they could walk right over.
You didn't have a heated outhouse either, and you didn't stay in there very long.
I'll bet it smelled better in the winter.
Probably true.
I had a teacher, and her name was Mrs. Nutting, Mrs. Bertha Nutting?
Right.
I believe so.
Bertha.
Bertha Nutting. And she had no more control over the kids than Sickle, especially me. Oh, we'd have racer fights and all kinds of stuff. And she would come to school in the morning, and she'd have a bunch of little sticks about that long, and she'd have those by her desk. And if you got in trouble while you got hit with one of those sticks.
That poor
Anyway,
lady.
I wasn't one of her best students, but we'd get some of her boys to get her attention, and I'd run up and grab her sticks and take them outside and hide them.
Poor lady.
And this
Teacher.
one gal sat in front of me, and she came up and she took a swing at me with one of those sticks, and I ducked, and she hit Catherine. And I thought Catherine was going to come unglued. But anyway, that poor old teacher, she was something else. We gave her an awful time. But it was during the war, and you couldn't get good teachers.
Well, she's a good teacher, but she needed to be teaching like a first grade or something like that.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a story about you locking the door and climbing out the window or something?
Well, that was her.
Oh. So you locked her in the classroom and then climbed out the window?
Well, we get, go close to evening, whenever we're getting ready to get out of school, instead of going out through the door, she'd have the door locked. So we just open the window and jump out the window.
Why did she lock the door?
Huh?
Why did she lock the door?
So we couldn't get out.
That sounds logical.
That's
Poor
not
old
how
gal.
you taught, Polly? That wasn't your classroom management style?
Lock the door. Nobody gets out until you learn something.
Well, I loved teaching, and I just thought it was, every day was fun.
They were pretty tough with her, poor old gal. And then Earl Hudson was the 8th grade teacher. And there was about 4 of us kids that the Bowers came to school. And he got us back and he said he was going to send us back, well, in 7th grade. Because he was going to send us back to the 6th grade, all of us boys. So he sent us over to the 6th grade, and that's where we were supposed to stay.
Well, what's he gonna send you back for?
Because we were kind of being ornery.
Oh my gosh.
We weren't very good students.
I didn't hear any of this while I was growing up, Dad.
And anyway, Earl, I can't remember what he did, but he came and got us. And if we were going to be good, why, we could go ahead and be in the 7th grade, and we could
Well, for heaven's
get
sakes.
put into the 8th grade at the end of the year.
I really liked Mr. Hudson.
Oh,
He was such a good math teacher. And
he was pretty strict.
He was real strict, and I
Yeah.
liked him. Yeah.
He wasn't very good with little kids like me.
Sounds like you might have been a handful.
Well, there was several of us.
Did you do any sports or anything?
Levon Helsley. Of course, those kids had to work on the farm, you know, and their dad was real tough with them.
Well, that's where Chris went to stay when he got tired of working at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
Tell that.
Anyway, Levon was in his chair and he'd gone to sleep. And old Hudson came up and grabbed him and kicked him out of school, sent him home. And I don't think he ever finished school. And he was a pretty tough old character, that Hudson.
So
I
you talk-
remember a story about one of the sisters getting into something she shouldn't have. Was it the cabinet in the corner, or?
Yeah.
Rat cabinet.
No, it's when I was looking for candy up in the cupboard.
Oh.
Well,
And the
you,
cupboard
Oh,
fell
yeah.
over on the kitchen floor, broke all the dishes and spilled all the tomato gravy all over the floor. And then the top of the cupboard wasn't fastened to the wall, it was sitting up on top of the other cupboard. And I was up there trying to find candy, and I pulled it over, and it went over me and down on the floor, and it broke the dishes, spilled the tomato gravy all over the floor, and the folks were at the lodge meeting, and when they came home, we was standing there a-bawling, and so we had to gather it all up, haul it up in the sagebrush on a little wagon, and the next day we had to go get new dishes.
Take it out to the garbage.
You guys were always getting in trouble. I heard there was a fire at one point.
yeah. Anyway, back to that cupboard,
Oh,
yeah.
covered.
And after they put it back up, then they kept some medicine in there
Well,
too.
that was the corner cupboard in the front room.
Yeah, anyway, they kept medicine
The
in
rat
it.
cupboard.
Dad got an old dead muskrat put in that cupboard. And he said, "You kids, come here, I want to show you something." I said, "See there? There's a rat in this cupboard." So we called it the rat cupboard after that. And we wouldn't go near it, but we were scared of that rat.
And that's where they would hide our Christmas toys.
Yeah.
At Christmas time, they'd put them in the rat cupboard. And finally, one day, Chris and I got pretty brave. Went in there before Christmas, and we got our toys out. I remember there was a little caterpillar
Yeah.
and stuff, and we played with those. Well, Mom was she was probably taking eggs to the stores, and we'd always put them back up. Time Christmas got there, we had them pretty well worn out.
Well, the bottom of the cupboard, you know, was open too. You
Yeah.
could put stuff.
Bowl, I seem to recall. What was that?
That's when we went up there and went swimming in the canal. We left our clothes on the bank and got down in there by the head gate, and the bull came and stood there by us, and we couldn't get out of the water. And I don't know, how did the bull get away? I don't remember that.
He would paw and
Snort.
snort and beller. And I think finally, maybe a couple hours, I think Daddy probably
I
came
think Daddy
shade
came up looking for
shoot
us.
him away, because he was mad.
There was some story about outhouses, that you boys got in some trouble with
Oh.
some outhouses.
Halloween, they used to go around the neighborhood and cause a little trouble. We had a friend, Johnny Brackett, and Johnny Brackett got his tractor and a wagon, and we went up to Castleford, and we were tipping over outhouses. We load the outhouses on the wagon and haul them down to the school. We had outhouses all over the school.
Oh my word, I'm surprised I didn't go to jail.
Next day when we went to school, they got all of us boys out, and we had to go back and load up those outhouses and haul them back into the town. We'd go around to these people's houses, knock on their doors. Well, one of these outhouses is yours? We'd have to go to that outhouse back on the toilet. They're back on the hole. Oh, we had a lot of fun.
I mean, the old lady Hudson, a bunch of them tipped her outhouse over, and next morning, it's putting it back up. And she's standing there and she said, "Isn't as much fun putting it up as it was knocking it over." And old Polly Harmon says, "Tip it over again."
Parley was the constable. He was the law and order of Castleford. And the night we went down to tip over all the outhouses, we took his car and hid it in his spud cellar. Well, Parley kept coming down there and begging us to give him his car. He needed it. We told him we'd leave us alone and we'll give it to you when we're done.
Oh, gracious.
We were good kids.
Was there something about taking a tractor apart and putting it back together someplace?
Oh, he pulled a tractor with a wagon, took it apart and put it on top of the smoke shop.
Yeah.
Smoke shop was a pool hall. And took that wagon completely apart, put it on top of the old smoke shop and put it back together.
Oh my word, I didn't even know about all this.
Well, we had a lot of help that year. That was during the first part of the war, and the Mexicans were in town. I mean, they had a labor camp, and those Mexicans were great. They helped us. Well, Jamaicans and Mexicans went there. Both kinds. Jamaicans and Mexicans, and they were a lot of help. They could lift a lot more than us kids could.
Oh my gosh.
Favorite childhood memories, Phyllis?
Some childhood memories.
When you got the appendicitis.
Was what?
When you got the appendicitis.
Okay, I
and
was
almost
6 years
died.
old, and I was in the first grade, and I was so proud of going to school. I love school, and I wouldn't stay home for nothing. Then I started getting a side ache one day, and so it get worse and worse. So Mama called up the doctor. I went to doctor. We saw Dr. Barry, and by then I was just shaking. I was hurting so bad. And he said, "Stick her in the hospital. She's got appendicitis." So I was in the hospital, quite a while.
10 days.
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
And so Mom says, I'm gonna take her home because I can take care of her. And so I went home, and I was in bed for 6 weeks. And I would want to get out of bed, and she wouldn't let me. She said, you're gonna stay here till you're well. And so I had to stay in bed till I was healed up.
I don't think it was quite 6 weeks because I stayed with Aunt
Oh,
Marie.
My appendix were almost ruptured,
Yeah.
just really close to being ruptured.
Anyway, they brought me home from Uncle Walter's, so I was so anxious to see Fiddy. And she was in this big bed, and there she lay, and she couldn't walk by then because she'd been in bed for so long. And I thought she's going to die, and I was just so sick, about it.
And every weekend, we had to go load hay, me and Rolly. And we had this pretty good load of hay on, and we got to sticking the pitchforks in there and pulling back and letting the pitchforks go together. Like dumb. I let mine go, and it hit him right there in the head. He just folded up like that. And I thought, my God, I killed him. And pretty soon the tears started coming out, and he said, what hit I? What hit I? And I said, don't tell Mom, and then I'll load all this hay myself.
I sat on the end of the haystack and watched him load that whole load by himself.
And
I
Daddy
understand you hurt him quite a bit, because I remember some
The
shotgun
lip
stories.
knocked him out.
Daddy would send Fiddy and me and Chris to load some hay. He didn't expect a big load with kids, but Chris wouldn't work at all. He was so lazy. And we're going to tell Mama on you. And he'd say, oh, poopy hogs, poopy hogs. We were really going to tell Mama on you. We were afraid to say that word to Mom, so.
You didn't tell her.
One time, Polly wouldn't work we were milking cows by hand, and she wouldn't work, and so she was sitting at the end of she would want to take the
Well, I read
bucket.
my books.
Huh?
I read my books while I was milking.
She wouldn't work. I milked the cows.
Oh,
And
no.
so,
That's not true.
Call her poopy head.
so I got mad at her one time, and I threw something at her, and she says, oh, you're gonna kill me, I'm gonna go tell Mom. And I said, you go right ahead. So I went out sit on the haystack, and stayed all night out in the haystack. And it was getting pretty cold. So pretty close to morning, I get up and go home and go into the house. Told Mama what was wrong because she wouldn't help do nothing, and I had to do all the work.
She's not as honest as Daddy taught us.
Every Saturday we had to haul a couple loads of hay from the haystack down to the barn and unload it for the calves and the cows. So Chris and I thought, well, instead of having 2 loads of hay, let's load 1 load. So we piled hay on this wagon and piled it. We had a load and a half of hay on that one wagon, and we started down towards the barn and tipped the wagon over.
That's when he broke both arms, wasn't it?
No,
No.
Wasn't it?
I was playing on hay and fell off the wagon.
Oh,
Anyway,
Hit on my wrist right there and broke my wrist.
Anyway, we loaded up all this hay on one wagon. We had a load and a half of hay on the one wagon and started towards the barn and got a little ways from the haystack, and the wagon tipped over, and then we had to get the other wagon and shovel or fork all that hay back on both wagons. And we had 2 loads, but it took us all day.
Chris, I understand that you shot Dad.
Oh, that was over at Uncle Walter's.
What was that?
When you and Art went hunting, and I was gonna.
Oh, shot you in the butt with a BB gun.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Well, Art, we went pheasant hunting, and Rolly wanted to go along. He kept telling him, I had the BB gun and Art had the shotgun. Kept telling him, go back, leave us alone. And yeah, he just keep it coming. So finally Art just shot him in the ass with a BB gun. And he went a-bawling back to the
Where did he hit you?
Huh? You did?
When Art and I come back, talk about a mad aunt. Boy, Aunt Marie, she was just madder than hell, and she really got on this. She had to put him up on the table so I could dig that baby out.
She had me up on the edge of the cabinet there by the sink, digging this BB out of my behind.
And she told me and my cousin Art, says, "That's it, boys. Says, you're not getting no supper tonight." Well, we didn't care. We went down to the shop and got us a little can lid, and went out, got some eggs, and we built a fire and cooked our own supper.
Oh, goodness.
Didn't Walter also shoot him once with the?
Yeah, down
Well, I was down in the canyon.
the gun went off.
We were hunting.
Ducks.
We were going to hunt ducks, and we was also going to look for the cattle in the canyon. We'd walked probably a half mile up the canyon,
Hardly.
and I was crawling through some trees and weeds, and this old open hammer shotgun I had evidently hooked on the branch and shot it off, and it hit the rock in front of me and just shattered my legs.
Oh, really?
With BBs, and
Oh,
Uncle
yeah.
Walter, he was real helpful, and he said, "Let's walk up the hill and go up to Webb's, and I'll get the car."
Huh.
So we walked up out of the canyon, and my
I didn't-
Levi's were just had holes all over the front of
Oh,
them
my
from
God.
this shot.
And blood?
Oh, they were bleeding, and Uncle Walter, like I say, he was a little on the not very helpful side in an emergency like that. Anyway, he got up to Webb's, and he got on the phone and got Catherine to come and pick us up with the car, and we got in the car, and he went by our place, and he had me get out, and then he and Catherine went on home. He wouldn't come in the house with me. So I went in the house, got in the bathroom, and got my pants down, and was picking these BBs out of my legs
Oh, my gosh, I didn't even know about that.
and cleaning them up, and I've still got some in my legs.
And you didn't want to tell your mom, right?
Oh, I didn't want to tell him because I wouldn't go hunting anymore.
Gosh.
Well, you were talking about snakes. I know that you and Chris did a lot of herding cattle in the canyons. Did you ever come across any dangerous situations out there?
Oh, one time we were building a fence up on the west side of the canyon. There was a trail went up there, and then we had to build a gate across it or something, and
Yeah,
so it
just
taking some posts and shovels and stuff and up this trail, and we was sitting up there building this fence. Went down the trail to get a post or something, and there was a rattlesnake. And man, I turned around, and there was a den of them. That thing was just crawling with rattlesnakes. So we got us a bunch of sagebrush and took it down there and set it in front of this den and set it on fire and burned them.
Goodness.
I don't know how many was in there, but there was a bunch.
Well, it's sure funny, when I was at Albion, we went for a walk one morning and kind of in the wild part of the country up there, you know, and I don't know if I don't think these were rattlesnakes, but they were snakes, and there was a wad of them this big, and they're just all clumped together.
Water
you know.
snakes do that, get in
Do
clumps, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I told the teacher, and she said, well, let's just go, we won't go back up there, you know, but don't go near them.
Hmm.
But they were just a wad of them, you know, just like
Yeah.
they were all.
And in running cattle, didn't Grandpa Harry break a shoulder or something, or collarbone?
Oh, well, we've had several accidents. He got hurt. Which one of the old horses?
Old Mage kicked Daddy.
well, one kicked him in the face.
Kicked him in the face.
Face, and this really
Oh,
hurt him.
yeah.
That wasn't down in the canyon, that
Uh-uh.
was.
We were bringing cattle out of the canyon one time. That Mom and Daddy was, I think Daddy was sick at that time, and it was Mom and Chris and I, and we'd come up the top of the hill, we're up there about a mile this side of the top of the canyon, and we'd bring probably what, 20, 30 cows, calves and calves or whatever. And I had old Maud, the old blind horse was blind in one eye, and I'd been walking, and so I was gonna get on her and ride her. So I took her over by the fence, and I got up on the fence, and old Maud took off and jerked me down over that barbed wire fence. And man, it tore my pants and cut a gash in my back of my leg about that long. Of course, what could you do? You had all these cattle, you had to drive them home. So I limped all the rest of the way home.
Oh my God.
We got them home. But
Somebody say Chris broke both arms?
he broke one arm at the time. He broke.
I've had them both broke. I've had this one broke twice and this one broke once.
Was that when you were a kid?
Well, the last time this one was broke twice is when that four-wheeler fell off the bridge.
Oh.
That's underneath it. I fell off the hay wagon. We was up on top of the hay wagon running around in the wintertime, and I got too close to the edge and fell off and landed on my arm just like that across where the car had run, you know, and froze, and just broke it right across there. Back then they didn't have x-rays and that. The doctors, they just done the best they could, give you ether and wrap it up.
You said Grandma was pretty helpful when people got hurt.
Yeah.
Any stories about that?
Well,
Delivering babies or?
one time Chris pulled a pan of boiling prunes, off the stove over his back, and Mom laid him down on a sheet and poured probably olive oil all over your back.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah.
I scalded. That's one of my marks when I went to service. There was a scar on my shoulder.
Chris, you had to go someplace?
Did go.
The Hemsleys? What were you saying, Polly, that Chris
Well,
had to go?
Chris got tired of working at home, and so he told
Oh.
Daddy, I'm gonna go over there and just stay with them. So he packed a little
Picked
shirt.
up his radio,
Yeah.
and I don't know what else he had.
He stayed, what, 2 days?
How old were you?
Oh, I don't.
14.
Yeah, I wasn't too old.
13, 14.
I had to work harder over there than I did at home. So
So he came back home.
I decided maybe I better go back home.
Oh. Well, and he didn't pick up the phone and call them and tell them that. They just knew how to get rid of you, huh? Make you work hard.
So do you guys go to church on Sundays? Was that every Sunday or?
We didn't
What?
hardly miss church. We'd go to church on Sunday.
We went to the Methodist first, and then Mom found out that they didn't immerse, and she said, I don't believe in that. They'd sprinkle, you know, for baptism. And then Wilma Bybee wanted me to come to the Baptist. So we all went to the Baptist, and I was 11, and they were younger, and so we finished up going to the Baptist until I was 18 then.
And our neighbors were at LDS. Not our neighbors.
Hammonds.
Hammonds,
Yeah. So they talked to us, and we got baptized and became members of the LDS church. So we went every Sunday. We didn't miss a Sunday
Was that in high school?
with LDS.
I was 18, and she was 4 months later, she joined. But none of our family, the rest of the family ever joined then, just Phyllis and me. And Darrell never joined, but he lived to the letter. He could have been one in a minute.
They were so good. They would take us to church. They would do everything that they could think of to help us, you know. So they were good.
The Hammonds lived neighboring farm right next to us, and he was also our scoutmaster.
He was
And
branch president.
he would load all of us kids in the scouts in the back of the little truck, and we'd take off for the hills and spend a couple days up in the hills. If they did that today, he'd have been in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't do a lot of things today that you did then.
So Dad, tell us about that car accident that they're up
Oh, when
Burns
I was,
River.
probably about 4, 5, no,
You had
after
to
we
be
went to
5
Pennsylvania.
because we went to Pennsylvania
Yeah.
after that happened.
Yeah. So, anyway, he had got a new car, and it was a
33 Chevy
Brand new.
brand new 1933
Chevy.
Chevrolet.
with a push-in, explain that to
It
me.
would release all the gears.
It had a freewheeling is what it had.
Freewheeling deal.
Release all the gears.
Yeah.
You just
anyway-
push that in, it's just in freewheeling, it just,
Anyway, he started down
That's dangerous.
down to
bounce rock.
The balance.
Balance Rock Canyon. Going to take this lady from back east,
Yeah.
Esther.
Esther
Esther
Shank.
Esther. She's going to go
Shank,
down.
give Esther Shank.
show her the,
Yeah.
the balanced rock. And he got to the top of the hill and the thing went in the
Well,
freewheeling
the
and
dog jumped out first.
Yeah,
Oh.
Bob jumped out.
the dog jumped out. Anyway, it went down the hill and he didn't make the corner and it rolled over and a couple of times and my head went through the roof. It was a part of a fabric roof,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
But if it had rolled over one more time, I wouldn't be here.
I think it was 15 feet from the edge of the Snake River.
No,
Was
what?
it
No.
Snake River?
No,
No,
no.
no, it was
was it?
on the
No, that, we're done, that's.
down to Lily Grade,
Oh,
not
Lily
Lily Grade,
What was the name
Balanced
of
Rock.
Balanced
We were
rock.
going down to Balanced
Yeah, but
Rock.
what was the name of the water?
Salmon.
Creek, it was just a little creek,
Yeah, but it's called the Salmon
Oh.
River.
Salmon Falls
Salmon.
Creek.
Yeah, Salmon Falls River.
But it was before we got down that far.
Were you guys hurt badly?
Mom had, nobody was, well, Esther had a couple broken ribs.
Yeah.
You had the worst cut here.
I had a,
He would have bled to death if we hadn't been able to, Mom hadn't been able to hold him.
I had a scar from here, well, that long, back of my head, where it went through the roof of that car. We had to walk up out of that grade and up to Hart's.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The old man hard.
Old man Hart's, and then he took us, I think he took us into town, didn't
He
he?
did.
To the
take us-
hospital in
Yeah.
Buell.
Took us to the hospital in Buell, and they sewed up my head,
Fixed up Mom's arm
yeah,
and Esther's ribs and
anyway, that's what, we
anyway,
survived.
we got the car fixed up then and went to Pennsylvania and spent 3 months.
Sounds like your dad was a great driver.
Well, he
But I know Mom and them,
been already, if he hadn't had to make that curve.
yeah, Mom and them wrote to the company about this, and it wasn't too long, they locked all them up, you couldn't use them anymore, that freewheeling. Done away with them.
You had a
Okay.
recipe, you had a recipe book for grandma's?
I have a recipe now for squirrel.
You do?
In the
You
cookbook.
by any chance have a recipe for the, shoe fly pie?
I do.
She does.
Do you?
Uh-huh.
I was gonna make a shoe fly pie for today, and
Oh, I wish you would have.
I couldn't find a recipe anywhere through all the cookbooks.
Huh.
I
I've
will
got
give you a
pencil.
recipe for the shoe fly pie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ones in it. I'm not crazy about it, so I don't make it, but Pitty's gonna do a demonstration for a church group, and she
Oh,
wanted the recipe, so I got them all found for her.
Shoe fly
I got
pie.
one where you just cook it and you don't put no crust or nothing, it's just the filling.
Well, you have to have a crust though to cook
Yeah,
that.
and always kinda
You
like
could
that
cook it
in
without
cake.
a crust.
you can
If
cook it
don't have
without,
that,
yeah.
Just like a
without
cake.
crust.
It's
Well, these are-
molasses and there's 2 different kinds of molasses as I recall.
Well, anyway, all these recipes in the Amish book had the crust, and then you poured the
Oh, yeah.
boiling water and the
Yeah.
molasses and the soda and the flour.
One thing I know about shoe fly pies is you always had it run over in the oven.
Well, he can make good ones, and I don't not like it, but it isn't my favorite. It's too sweet and too